Coming up in today's video, we're going to be talking about Zack Ryder's WWE return and the details behind it. But also, we're going to talk about new TNA signings, and we are going to talk about a former WWE superstar at TNA Turning Point. It's all coming up right here on the Ango Show. As always, if you guys are interested in more wrestling news, rumors, and opinions, make sure you guys click that subscribe button. This way you never miss a video on the channel. I'm going to keep you guys updated along the way with everything that's happening, just like this story of BJ Ray. Now, I found this to be incredibly interesting because sometimes, not always, but sometimes I will sit on social media while I'm also watching wrestling. And last night was a very big day because TNA had Turning Point at Full Sail Arena. And then also WWE SmackDown was going on. And then in addition to that, I was watching basketball games. So of course, I'm on social media paying attention to the Pistons and all these different things. And next thing you know, a video of BJ Ray pops up and he's in the crowd at TNA Turning Point. And he was talking shit about the Jake something Mance Warner match with Hometown Man. And this was very, very crazy because he was talking shit about them, basically saying that he could beat them up or clap them up or whatever. And then it led to a response on social media from Steph DeLander, who is the manager of Mance Warner. And then he responded to her saying that she's now his celebrity crush. And this has led to a whole bunch of stuff on social media. And a lot of people are wondering if TNA is potentially signing BJ Ray. Now, if you guys don't know who BJ Ray is, he was part of the show that WWE had on Roku, where WWE was doing the tryouts and the stuff like that with the NIL talent. Many of the people have ultimately ended up on WWE television, but he didn't go straight to NXT television. Instead, he was part of WWE LFG, and he was eliminated in both seasons. He wasn't a winner of, LFG. And then we recently found out like a month ago or so that he was released from WWE. So BJ Ray is somebody who actually appeared a couple times on NXT television, more so like in the background and stuff. Nothing really too prominent. But this is a guy who has appeared on WWE television, and he's actually become a really big favorite, fan favorite on social media because of his dipshit character. And it's actually been kind of fun to watch. That's why I like some of those shows like LFG or the one that WWE had, on Roku. Because, for example, Cutler James, who's part of the Dark State faction, like he was also somebody who was on that show with BJ Ray. And so you kind of see these people before they even get a chance to be on TV. You kind of get to watch their progression. BJ Ray got released from WWE. Now he's going on Twitter angling for a job with Tony Khan in AEW. Now he's outside at TNA. But something about this just seems fishy. It kind of seems like an angle. I'm curious if TNA will be bringing him in, but we don't have confirmation on that either. But I wouldn't mind it. I think BJ Ray is a good example of somebody who didn't have wrestling experience before, but wants to continue wrestling. And I often criticize people, especially collegiate athletes who come into WWE. They want a quick payday and then they don't have passion for the industry. And then ultimately they decide, hey, I don't want to do it anymore. And I don't like that. I typically like the people who sometimes, maybe they do lose their job, but they have the ability to say, you know what? I'm passionate. I'm a hard worker. And I'm going to get there some way, somehow. And it seems like BJ Ray is doing that, which is really, really, really awesome. So hopefully it works out with whatever he does. And that brings us to TNA Turning Point. Yesterday, we saw the return of Wesley, a.k.a. Desmond Xavier. We also have the confirmation of 2 new signings for TNA, which include Mila Moore and Jada Stone. Now, this has become a very interesting talking point because at Turning Point, Desmond Xavier, who was formerly known as Wesley in WWE, reappeared with the Rascals. All 4 members of the Rascals reunited. It was a feel-good moment. A lot of people were excited about this. An incredible match. I think everybody was genuinely happy about this. But it actually turns out that Desmond Xavier is not signed to TNA long-term. It turns out that he's actually working with TNA and has creative plans, but there is no contract. So it sounds like TNA is working with him on a per appearance deal. Now, this does make sense. Fightful had reported this, but also Fightful adds to the report that Zachary Wentz and his contract is up January 1st. And there are other companies interested in bringing in Zach Wentz and Desmond Xavier, which I'm looking at Tony Khan here. I think Tony Khan probably wants the Rascals and probably would sign them. And to be fair, it would make a lot of sense, right? Like, I genuinely think it would make a lot of sense for them to go to AEW. I think Wesley's WWE release was questionable as well. So that is something obviously keep in mind and pay attention to. But TNA, doesn't have them under contract, but now they have Mila Moore and Jada Stone. They continue adding talent to the TNA Knockouts division, which I think is a great idea. Sometimes these people aren't always the most known. Maybe they're not the most popular, but they come into TNA and next thing you know, they start doing some really cool stuff. I think Maggie Lee was a perfect example of this. Maggie Lee, now M by Elegance. Like, she just had that match at Turning Point. Really good. And then I think you got to look like Mila Moore. She took over Tessa Blanchard's spot, at Turning Point as well. So definitely curious to see what happens here, but good stuff by TNA. And that brings us to our final topic. Guys, we've got some details behind Zack Ryder's return. And I know it's kind of crazy saying that because Matt Cardona has been very, very vocal about Zack Ryder being dead and gone. And for the last 5 years, we have not seen Zack Ryder. We've seen the indie god, Matt Cardona. He shows up yesterday as a major surprise, and he's not a contracted WWE talent. And everybody's wondering, okay, well, what's the situation here? Now, keep in mind, WWE did not have him come out as Matt Cardona. They did not have him come out at all as as a TNA wrestler. They didn't do any of that. He came back as Zack Ryder. And then to make things even more interesting here, WWE launched new Zack Ryder merchandise immediately after his loss to LA Knight. Then what makes it even more complicated is if you go on social media, the Triple H post pointing picture, finger point with Zack Ryder, that was done. He's got a picture backstage with Chelsea Green. Backstage video with LA Knight. He's like, I don't know if this is a see you later or whatever or goodbye, but good job, and like they shook hands or whatever, and that was kind of cool. A lot of people are under the belief that Zack Ryder is under the company just because they launched merchandising. That's always a possibility, and that's where WWE has confused us all. WWE sources have not indicated whatsoever that Zack Ryder is signed to the company. The belief is that this was a one-off. This was the point of this was to have somebody from John Cena's past in the tournament. Zack Ryder, I feel, has definitely earned that moment. Matt Cardona is an incredible talent. There's been rumors and rumors and rumors for years that WWE was interested in bringing him back. Is this going to lead to a return? I think it will inevitably happen. Is it right away? I don't believe so. Obviously, things could be very, very complicated here, but we'll have to see what happens. From my understanding, he's not signed. It was a one-off thing. That obviously can change. Very interesting stuff there. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the Angle Show.